You're listening to an African Elements top news story for April 6, 2025. Please visit our website at africanelements.org for more daily news. Anti-Trump protests. April 2025. U.S. tariffs economic impact. Massive demonstrations show deep concerns over Trump's policies. By Darius Spearman. People across the United States are making their voices heard loud and clear. Recent weeks saw massive participation in nationwide protests against Trump administration policies. Over 600,000 protesters took to the streets in demonstrations. They rejected the direction of policies concerning education, jobs, the economy, and the very foundation of democracy. These weren't isolated events either. Thousands gathered in numerous cities nationwide. These gatherings marked the most visible anti-Trump protests since his second term began. Furthermore, a coalition of 150 groups organized over 200 specific, hands-off demonstrations. These events directly targeted policies associated with both Trump and billionaire Elon Musk. The sheer scale indicates deep dissatisfaction bubbling up across diverse communities. A major driving force behind these U.S. protests is opposition to Trump's economic policies, especially new import tariffs. The timing is significant. Demonstrations coincided directly with the implementation of these tariffs. These measures are not minor adjustments. They broadly impact global economies. People are worried about their wallets and the broader economic future. Experts project these tariffs will hit home hard. Costs for everyday goods like groceries, cars, and trucks are expected to rise. This adds fuel to the fire of existing inflationary pressures, making life harder for working families. Consequently, critics argue these policies create a system benefiting the wealthy. They contend Trump's approach favors billionaire elites and large corporations. Meanwhile, the burden falls disproportionately on low-income communities, particularly through regressive tariffs that take a larger bite out of smaller budgets. This impact is especially concerning for Black communities and other communities of color, often facing economic marginalization. The economic policies sparking U.S. protests are also making waves internationally. Countries are carefully weighing their responses to Trump's tariffs. Australia, for instance, faces a 10% baseline tariff on its goods entering the U.S. Despite this, the Australian government opted not to impose retaliatory tariffs. Their reasoning centers on avoiding self-harm to their own economy. However, not all allies are taking a passive stance. The European Union has signaled a much stronger reaction. The EU plans to impose significant duties on U.S. goods totaling around $28 billion. This move significantly escalates the potential for a broader global trade conflict. Amidst these rising tensions, an interesting comment emerged from Elon Musk. He hinted at the possibility of a future zero-tariff partnership between the U.S. and the EU, although current relations remain strained. Therefore, the international economic landscape remains highly uncertain. The protests against Trump's policies aren't happening in a vacuum. They connect to wider activist currents both domestically and internationally. For example, reports emerged from the United Kingdom involving youth-led activist groups. These groups, such as Youth Demand, faced police raids and arrests during their own protests. This suggests a potentially challenging environment for dissent in allied nations as well. Simultaneously, alternative economic visions are being discussed on the global stage. An international conference took place in Brazil from April 7th to 11th. Its focus was specifically on building sovereign, socialist economic policies. Such discussions position themselves as a direct counter to dominant neoliberal models. Thus, the recent U.S. demonstrations are part of a larger tapestry of global activism and ideological debate regarding economic and political futures. Copyright African Elements.